make the stacks blow, rolling smoke out my nose, leaning on the console. I ain't seen no asphalt and
I knew there was lyrics on that. When you told me the other day, you're like, no, there's only words on the outro, not the intro. I was like, nah, you're wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. I'm usually wrong about things like that.
100% of the time you're wrong. Normally, when we have somebody on the podcast, I find something to just talk shit about. Make fun of them, say something stupid because they're still on mute and they can't defend themselves.
Yeah.
We're not doing that today.
We're not.
We have a lady on the podcast today, first and foremost. Secondly, she's significantly bigger than both of us. We're just not going there. And she carries concealed.
That's right.
So we're really not doing that. But we've got an event coming up tomorrow. A lot of you guys know it. It's our Bulletproofing Your Business real estate conference that we're doing here in Cherry Creek North in Denver. So if you're signed up for that, great. We're excited to see you guys. But we've got one of our main speakers that will be not only at the event, she's on the podcast today, which is the day before the podcast. But if you're listening to this, you're probably listening to it on Monday, which means the event was 5 days ago.
That's right. Too late.
Because we're not sneaking this out before the event, right?
No, we can, but.
You think we should?
No,
Monday.
Yeah,
we're doing it Monday. But we've got Tina Hare with us today.
That's right.
Hey, guys.
She's a 5-time world champ.
That's right.
Century 21 team ever.
That's right. Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
More importantly, right? Like I'm going to boast her up because she's not going to do that for herself. But she's going to be talking and just giving some of her story at our event, in addition to just tips and tricks. We're going to have a slew of different questions for her as far as like just how she built her business, how she went about it. But today on the podcast, our podcast, Tina, you're too big of a deal for us. So you don't even know our podcast exists. It's called Day $1 and we have two concepts for it. We talk about people's literal Day $1. Like mine was when I left that fitness company and I'm sleeping in a pantry and bankruptcy and you name it, starting over, deciding to do real estate. That was like my literal Day $1. Have I told you that story?
No.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
You got to hear that one.
We'll probably end up talking about it. I ended up like leaving. I did military, government work, police work, and then I helped my buddy build a fitness company. But when I decided to leave that, I was making money, not very good with money. Now I'm just like okay with money. Then I was like terrible with money, right? So money was gone the second I stopped working there, right?
Right.
So I slept in my buddy's mom's old Y2K pantry in her basement.
Oh my God.
That was like the first pandemic, right? Of like distilled water, canned food, and toilet paper gone. Everyone thought 2000 was just going to
end.
Yeah.
So she still has that pantry, probably her COVID pantry now. But I slept in there. Like I had to sell everything off. I had $36, and that's where I just restarted in that pantry, studied, got my license. We ended up getting a little townhome after that, so on and so forth, right? But that was like my literal, what I would consider like a Day $1. But then we also talk about, like Elon and I, we talk about how we still approach every day like it's Day $1, right? Of like, hey, what keeps you sharp? What keeps you pushing forward? What keeps you moving into that next level? Is it, and I've talked about it a couple of times where it's, my literal Day $1 was like, I need to make money. I need to provide for a kiddo. And, and Kate, she had her career as well, but like, no, I need to provide, right? But now it's like, yeah, you're making money. You don't necessarily need more money. And as you grow, it turns into like your legacy, or that's a strong word, but you know what I mean? We'll cover that today. But just to give you the context of our show, it's what was your literal Day $1, the stories along the way, and then currently, how are you still approaching every day like it's Day $1 as far as like your purpose, not necessarily money driven, but just your purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know exactly my Day $1.
Oh, I want to hear it. Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's dive into it. Yeah.
So I was working for the phone company, and I had moved up pretty quickly. I was in what they call fraud, so like bankruptcies and fraud, and
sure.
And so I was doing really well, and we had this manager. She was an interesting. Her name was Jean. That's all I'll say.
Jean?
Yeah, she's probably not alive anymore because
or watching this.
Yeah, or watching this for sure. But we were just overwhelmed with work, like backlog.
So just to give an idea, right? Like, what do you mean you worked for the phone company? Like,
so I did. I was a billing. So I worked as in the billing department, and
for like what would be like current day, like AT&T.
Yeah. Well, we have to preference it back because it's back when we had credit card phones and pay
yeah.
phones and
Oh,
all
yeah.
that stuff. You guys are too young for that.
No,
but-
we
I
kind of remember.
that.
Yeah. Like
But-
growing up, like payphone. Is that the thing that had like all the bubble gum and graffiti all over it?
That was
Yeah,
it.
okay.
Yeah, we had
Yeah,
payphones,
so you know you had your little credit card for if you
Yeah.
made a long distance call on a payphone and
Yeah.
stuff. So we handled all the billing. We had it was really interesting. We'd have a lot of military because they'd come in on the ship
overseas.
and
Yeah.
do a lot of the fraud and then get taken out. So all we had to do
Oh.
on those was call the CO and then we were done. They took care of it from there.
Amazing.
But so I was working in the billing department and I had a son and I had just gotten married the second time I was divorced and
Sure.
married the love of my life. We've been married to for 40 years now, but
Very cool.
it's really awesome. But he was in daycare because he was only like 4 years old. And Jean came into the room with all of us and she told us that we were all working until 7:00 that night. We didn't have a choice. So I raised my hand and I said, my daycare stops at 6:30. What are you expecting that I'm going to do? And she goes, that's not my problem. That's your problem.
Oh,
And
Bye.
I went home and I told Chris, I'm done.
Yeah. So
And I
what'd
was
you do?
pregnant
Did you
at
leave?
the time.
Did you leave
gosh.
early?
Did.
Did you leave and go get your kid and then just
did.
quit? Very
I
cool.
did. I left and I ended up, and I was pregnant at the time. And we were like, what are we going to do? Because we needed 2 incomes. You know, he was a fireman, but back then they didn't make as much money. And so we were like, what are we going to do? I don't know what to do. And so I thought about it for a long time. And,
how old were you roughly?
I was 25.
Okay, yeah.
Young.
When
Yeah.
you told him that you quit, what did he say?
He was 100% supportive.
Cool.
Because he was like, you know, you can't, he wanted me to stay home. And I'm like, there's no way. Number one, my personality wasn't going to let me stay home because it's just not how I'm built. But he also didn't want our child or 2 children at some point, you know, because I was pregnant.
Because if they do that now, they're going to do it again. It's only a
Yeah.
matter of time before they do it again.
Oh, you should have seen her. She was just so cold about it. And everybody in the space was so, they were so controlled. And I was like,
Yeah.
no, this is not who I am. I'm not letting somebody tell me that my child can't come first. Right.
Sure.
So I sat down with Chris and I'm like, what are we going to do? And he's like, I don't know, but you got to figure this out. And oh, by the way, it needs to be a job that you can be home when I'm off and I can be home when, you know, because he only worked 9 days a month.
Yeah.
And I'm like, crap, how am I going to do that? Right. So I'm thinking through all this stuff. And I knew a couple people in real estate. And so I met this couple. They were the real estate team and they owned a office in Newbury Park. So I went to work for them just doing some escrows.
Sure.
And after about a month, they were like, dude, you could do this. And
So
I'm
what's
like,
an escrow?
Yeah.
Just so people that
So-
are listening.
so in California, we have escrows where once you enter into a contract,
Right.
you're going to have an escrow company, which is the neutral third party,
Okay.
facilitate the transaction versus an attorney. Like in Texas, they have
Yeah.
attorneys.
They're going to give sellers the money.
Yes.
They're going to give buyers title. They're also going to make sure like there's
Yeah,
no
and they're
liens on
pass
the
through.
home.
Yeah, they're
Right,
the
pass
pass
through.
through. They're letting all the monies come through and pass through.
Right.
They're literally the neutral third
So you were
party.
just managing once something was like under contract for them?
Mhm.
Got it.
I
Very
was
cool.
just basically their office manager,
Right.
managing their files and doing that kind of stuff. And after about a month, Sandy came to me and she's like, you need to be doing this for a living. Because she saw me handling her clients and how I was talking to, because, you know, I'm
Interesting
talking to
someone would
clients and
say that
stuff.
to you because does that hurt them at all? Kind of.
No, I don't.
I mean, you're going to go make money because you're going to go do deals, but they got to find somebody just as good as you to like do that role though.
Yeah, but I think they thought they could make more money from me being an agent.
100%
than
they
could-
can.
Right.
But just like with Elon and I having transaction coordinators and just different managers and things that we have like within our company,
Mhm.
you still got to replace that person.
Yeah.
And when you got a good one, it takes a lot of like humility and just wanting people to win and just encourage that person to go do more.
Yeah, I mean, it was really amazing that they saw that in me and
Yeah.
they were like, you have to
Yeah, you
do
could
this.
do better. Yeah.
And so then I got into real estate and it was a struggle.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times we thought we were going to lose our house and it was tough times, but those tough times.
You don't get to breeze over that.
Right? What do you
What
mean?
year was that? What the heck was going on? And
Losing
like,
your
how-
house
yeah.
or being afraid you're going to lose your house.
Yeah.
No, I mean, actually we had months where we were not making our mortgage payment on
Yeah.
time. Not that we couldn't make it, but it wasn't on time.
Yeah.
And you get those phone calls, back when we had pagers. And
Oh yeah.
I'm giving up so much information.
It's good
kind
though.
of crazy. But
Yeah.
like you'd have pagers, right?
Yeah.
And then you get the phone call and it's like your mortgage is late. And you're like, I know it's coming. And
See, now you're more vetted. When you get that page, you just don't call the number.
You get that page.
yeah, but
And then you show up at your house
Again.
like, hey, are you getting our call? Like, what call?
Yeah.
What pager?
yeah, well, like I was too by the book, like
Yeah.
Yeah.
so
What year was that? Like when it was hard, when you guys, like when deals were hard and you were like,
that was in the 80s, like when
made
I
it so
first got
hard?
in the business. Well, because you're just brand new in the business.
okay, so it was, because I know like the spaceship blew up on live television in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
Like, did that hurt like, I know that hurt my dad was in telecom. He did like electronics and worked for a company that was contracted by NASA and they were doing stuff.
Right.
And then the spaceship blew up on live television and like his industry went away for a while. And he ended up losing his career and had to start his own company. Like, was real estate hit by that? Like, was the economy in
No.
general hit by that?
No, real estate got hit in the 90s with the .com.
.com
Yeah,
bust
that
and
got hit
boom, yeah.
stuff.
Mhm.
But no, this was just starting out because remember, I'm like just starting real estate, just had a
Yeah.
baby,
Yeah.
just trying to get
No Facebook, no Instagram,
No,
no
just
paid
door
ads, no
knocking.
social media. Like, just, you got to get out there.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear the crazy thing? Is
Mm.
we used to have Thomas guides.
Oh, that's like the MLS book, right?
No,
Yeah,
no.
no.
Or
Thomas
the
guide.
map.
The map.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So when I first started in Moore Park, because we lived
Yeah.
in Moore Park, we had just bought this new house, right? And it was in Moore Park. And I took a Thomas guide and I drove every neighborhood and I highlighted every neighborhood and then put in the neighborhood how much the prices were, what the square footages
gosh.
were, like crazy stuff.
Yeah.
We didn't have computers.
No.
We'd get a book on Friday and everybody would run out and look at the inventory. We
That'd
actually
be the
had
new listings.
the new
Right.
listings and the old listings that
Yeah.
were still on the market. We had floor time where people would come in
Mm-hmm.
and because they had no access to it. Now everybody has access to
Yeah.
it. But at
Yeah.
the time, they had zero access to it.
Ooh.
But it was just building my business. And,
Mhm.
so when you're in the beginning, and I left a company that I was making a lot of money. I mean, I
Yeah.
worked for the phone company and we had good salaries.
Mhm.
So
Was it
going
Bell?
No,
Ooh.
I was
It
going to be my
wasn't.
question.
it was GTE.
Oh, GTE.
Ooh, fuck
Okay.
those guys. Welcome to cable
Crazy.
TV.
Crazy. So, but that was the moment when I was like, you know what? I'm going to take control of my life and I'm going to take control of my career and I'm going to do something that number one, I could give back, right? I feel
Mhm.
like real estate is a good way to
Mhm.
help people,
Place of service.
right? And control my environment. Like I could work on the days that I needed to work
Mhm.
and be home with my kids on the
Sure.
days that I wanted to do that or needed to because Chris would work. But it was the right career for me. It found me, I think, really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so that was my zero.
What was successful like when you were farming these neighborhoods? Because when we talk about, okay, no Instagram, no Facebook, no social media, no paid ads, no Google, you got to go knock doors, you got to farm, there's a phone book. That's actually, as much as like we think it's hard now because like there's 60,000 agents in Colorado per se and
Right.
et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's like back then, realtors that were in the game 5, 10, like 15 years, like, did everybody already have a realtor? Like, was it still kind of like similar to nowadays? Like, there was just no way to market your way into it. Like, you just had to look for that opportunity. Like, was it more hard? Like, was it harder back then?
Yes, it was very hard.
Because no one knows you. There's no way to market yourself to give some impression that you're, established.
Right.
And then if you're knocking those doors, it's like they know you're not established. Because if you were established
You wouldn't be
back
knocking
then,
doors.
I'd be
Yeah.
calling you.
Yeah.
I'd
So-
be calling you.
So here's
If you were
what I
established,
did.
like, look at this little newbie knocking my door, right? Like, it's almost like there's no hiding.
Right.
You're doing that, but it's like, yeah, like you're not coming from a listing. Hey, I'm in the neighborhood. I have a listing down the street.
Right.
No, it's like I'm just like a little kitten, hoping you
Yes.
put a little bit of food out.
So here's how I did it. So it was really interesting because I wanted to first learn. So I learned everything about Moore Park.
Mhm.
It was my town. It was my community. I learned every neighborhood, every price point, so that when people were talking to me, when I finally did get people to talk to me, I knew what I was talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But what I decided is I had no money to market or advertise or do any of that stuff.
Yep.
So I just started volunteering because number one, it was great because I could be with my kids. I could do, help out the community.
Okay.
And I could get to meet people.
So you were meeting people in social atmospheres.
Totally.
Not
100%.
like the new kitten on the porch. And when you start talking, they find out like through small talk that you're in real estate. And then they start talking to you about some stuff. And then you just knew everything about everything in your area. And it's like, hey man, there's value there.
Yes.
And then that's where they either asked to work with you or they probably gave you a referral of like, oh, hey, my friend, whatever, right?
It was 100%. And it was kind of this, it took time to evolve. It didn't just happen overnight, but because I didn't really talk a lot about real estate unless somebody asked me, right? But I'd sponsor the kids' banners, because we would do banners and stuff back then. But the conversations were different because they trusted you. Because you were the person that was, redoing the sod on the football field because it needed to get done, or being the team mom, or starting a little. I mean,
this is how I started mine. This is how I started real estate, even in today's world. I did 34 deals my first year, but they were all coming from like people that I already knew on Facebook. So that was digital. But if you take that off the plate, it was the gym, my daughter's school, people I saw on a regular basis that I didn't have to beat their door down because I'm going to see you 5 days a week picking up kids.
Right.
I'm going to see you at the gym 4 times a week, same time in the morning.
Right.
And you just start building. But I started having more intentional conversations. Like when people asked me how my day was, I told them what I did that day, which brought up real estate, which brought up conversation, which brought up the opportunity for like what you're talking about.
Right. And like I was, PTA president, booster president for the high school. And then people start seeing you everywhere. And then when you're talking real estate, it's really interesting how they start associating it like, well, I see Tina everywhere. But they're not associating it with like signs on real estate. Now they do.
It's just, you're literally everywhere.
Yeah. And
but
so
it
that's
still
how
matters
happened.
to this day because you can have all the banners you want. Relationships are so hard to beat.
Yes.
And even now, like when life gets busier, like people really are wanting to like get back into relationships.
You know, it was really interesting. I was at an open house. This was maybe 5 years ago. And I was just sitting at the open house and this woman came in and she started talking to me about selling her house.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to her and I said, so like, just curious, because I always ask, what made you, come here and talk to me about selling your house? Because she wasn't interested in that house. She just wanted to talk to me.
Yeah.
And she said, it's all that you've done for your town.
Oh, really? Great answer.
What? And I started to get emotional about it. And she's like, yeah. She goes, Tina, you're everywhere. And you you're not just everywhere trying to sell real estate. You're everywhere trying to help out. And she said, that means, and I get emotional right now.
Yeah.
She's like, that meant so much to us. And we always said that if we ever sold our house, you're going to be the person that sold it.
Place of service.
Yeah.
And this is where like when people hear that, they don't necessarily understand like, hey, how's real estate like a place of service? And it's like, well, you're helping somebody with the most expensive seller buy their life. True. And if you're really good at what you do, then you're definitely serving that client during that transaction. True. But here's what I started figuring out early on. I leave all the different career paths I had and like I no longer have work given to me. I have to create it. All the work I started creating was all coming from relationships. And it was like, well, the more I can give and the more I can be involved, the more people I can be around. And like, they just kind of see who you are and what you're doing. So like, that's where volunteering at schools and just get involved with their little 5Ks and just like, I don't have a lot of money I can donate, but I can chaperone the field trip. I can do this, I can do that. And like, you're literally paying yourself to go meet and help as many people in your community as possible. And through those relationships, people decide to work with you.
I think so. And I think that when people see you in an atmosphere where you're giving back and they can see the true person, because, real estate, used car salesman, we kind of get lumped in that whole, thing. And so I think sometimes people think, oh, they're just trying to make money and they're not.
Well, and they're right.
Oftentimes they are.
No, you're right.
And,
they are.
In a lot of aspects, not you directly.
But there are a lot that are good and there are a lot that are bad.
100%.
So in anything. But then they see you in this different light. And so I think it just gives them comfort that you're going to take care of them. The other thing that I think is so important, and I've lived by this from the very beginning, is you have to be truthful, right? Sometimes clients don't want to hear what you have to say, but you have to say it, right? Because if you're not honest with them, it will always come back to haunt you. Always. So you just
don't say whatever you have to say to get a damn listing is what she's saying to you guys.
Right.
Don't do it.
Exactly. Don't do it. Walk away from it.
But it kind of like, do you know why you don't do that? because you took the time to research and understand your entire community.
Right.
I know every block. I know every build. I know every price. I know what had an update, what didn't have an update. And when some other agent was selling those, I was going to those open houses to just do my own darn homework.
Right.
So when I get spoken to, not only do I know my shit, I'm going to open up some stuff and show you. I'm just going to, the maps that I've made or the books I've made because of it, and every comp I'm talking about and why something's a comp for you and why it's not a comp for you, even though you think it's a comp. I'm not only going to give you my opinion, I'm going to share where all the data is coming from. But this is why I can be truthful. Agents don't do that part nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll tell someone whatever they have to hear, and they'll price something significantly high because like, well, hey, what's the worst case scenario? Like, I'll still get the listing. And if they want to price it high, we'll just do some price cuts. But at least I got the listing. It's like, no, dude. Do you know how much more you could be doing with your time than bullshitting with that for the next 60 days because you guys didn't price it appropriate? And then they end up not going with you. And then somebody like Will and Eli comes around because we've had this happen and we do the right things.
Tell them the truth.
But again, like, in order to tell people the truth, you got to know the truth.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
See, that's the most
You don't
important
know
thing.
your shit.
Yeah.
That's why you can't. So you're what is it called? Like food salad. You're saying a bunch of whatever,
Yeah.
and you'll get the listing and it's like, no, man, like you can't.
Yeah.
But in order to tell the truth, like it's so important for people to understand all the work you did to know your shit for your area.
You have to have the knowledge behind you, right?
Mhm.
You can't just BS your way through it. It's not going to work. You're going to get caught every time if you do that.
Sure.
So you have to have the knowledge behind it. And that's what I tell young agents. I tell them, don't go try to take on 10 neighborhoods. Take one neighborhood on and own that neighborhood.
Yep.
That's how I built Moore
Yep.
Park. I mean,
Yep.
we have 25% market share in Moore Park. That's insane.
Yeah. How many homes are in Moore Park?
40,000.
Jeez.
Like, hold on.
Jeez. And while he's doing the math,
I
tell people
suck
where
at math, but it's gonna be
Moore
fun.
Park is in case they don't know.
Moore Park is in Ventura County. So it's kind of halfway between LA and Santa Barbara.
There we go.
It's a
Okay.
little slice of heaven.
Yeah. So not Louisville, Kentucky,
Right.
right?
But-
Nothing against Louisville.
But
40,000. Are you hiring?
40,000 aren't
40,000
selling, but
times
still.
25%. That's 10,000 homes.
That's 10,000 homes. Yeah. That's
probably
solid.
how many we've sold.
That's a
in-
good chunk.
in the
Yeah. If you do the
years.
math on the years that you've
That's a
done,
good
right?
chunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but so going back to the just take a neighborhood and walk that neighborhood. Bring something of value if you're door knocking, right? Bring the comps for the area. Like one year we had a bad earthquake, and I took some stuff off the internet that talked about
Yeah.
earthquake preparedness, and I brought that.
Value.
So bring something of value.
But let's talk about your door knock, because your door knock is the shit. And it's very simple, and people can't seem to figure this out. But if they could, they do a lot better, right? Like when you knock on a door, I answer the door,
right.
strapping, handsome, tattooed guy. What do you say?
I just tell them who I am. This is Tina. I'm Tina Hare. I'm your local Moore Park real estate agent. I just want to talk to you a little bit about real estate, but I'd like to see if this is a good time for you.
That you're so straight to the point. I want to talk to you about real estate. Is this a good time?
Right.
If I say no, you almost feel guilty for saying no when people are polite because like, hey, I've got a couple kiddos inside and it's just not the right time, but thanks for coming by. Here's one thing's for sure. Let's just give you a little bit of backstory and Will, because I'm in sales. If you knock on my door, this is a game for me.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
If you're in solar and you knock on my door and I have time, it's a game.
I did that.
I'm gonna have fun with you. I'm gonna tear you down and then I'm gonna coach you and correct you. Still not buy your shit and kick you off my porch.
Yes, I did
All in
that.
the same moment, right? But if someone's nice, hey, this is so-and-so. I'm your local so-and-so. Would love to talk to you about real estate. Is this a good time? I'm not gonna be a jerk at all.
No, you can't.
But what's crazy is like you and I have never met until about 8 months ago. But even like when we're talking to listing agents, right? For example, when I call a listing agent as a buyer agent, especially when there's like 2% interest rates and they're getting 1,000 calls a day, I say, Tina, this is Will Grimes from High Property Brothers. Appreciate you answering. We're getting ready to submit an offer on your listing at 123 Moore Park Boulevard. Had a couple questions for you. Is this a good time to speak?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
I'm not even fucking calling you until I'm submitting an offer. And in our buyer presentation with our buyers, before we even go look at homes, when we take them through a buyer presentation, they're educated on when we're going to actually call. we're not calling unless this is the home.
Right.
Because I've already got all the additional information that I need. I know how to get HOA docs. I know the docs that they're putting on the MLS. I know how to do all that. We're not calling until here. Because if they answer, I'm not pissing them off and I'm not wasting their time. And even if they're nice, if I got questions and I'm not submitting an offer in a market with 2% interest rates, the fact that they answered, amazing. But I literally just say, it's so-and-so with so-and-so.
Right.
We're getting ready to submit an offer. Had a couple questions. Do you have a couple moments to speak? Just always asking for people's permission to speak versus shoving something down their throat. And if they don't, now here's what's crazy, Tina. If I say, Tina, I got little kids running around. Now is not a good time, but thanks for coming by. What do you say?
I say, I so understand and appreciate it. Maybe next time when I'm around, I can come by and see you.
You don't act fucking desperate, do you?
No.
Hey, no problem. See you on the next time. It's like, you're established.
Right.
You not pressing me. Guys, less is more, especially like in sales. People might not teach you that. You might be learning strong arm sales or whatever bullshit you do in solar. Less is more.
Right.
And just not needing to press him makes someone feel that like you don't need their business. You'd like it, don't need it. And definitely not going to disrespect you or piss you off in order to try to get something from you.
Well,
have a great day.
It's just like when you go into a listing appointment. I don't know. You know, you hear stories from agents all the time.
We sell 25% of Schmore Park. You ever heard of it? It's on SpongeBob SquarePants. It's on that fucking channel. Yeah,
crush that area. Yeah.
No, but when you go into a listing appointment, I hate agents when they tell you, "Oh yeah, I walked in and the first thing they start doing is talking about themselves." I'm like,
and how much and
dude,
price?
Are you kidding me?
Nope.
Like,
yeah.
I love it because then I
you.
walk in and the first thing I say is, "Hey, can we sit at the table?" And they're like, "Sure." Like you might do a quick walk around if you can see that they're anxious about wanting to see show you the house.
We do
then
the
you
same
sit
thing.
down. You know what? I just would love to hear your story.
Yeah.
And I'm sincere about it because I really do want to hear it.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
But can you just tell me your story?
Mhm.
I have never had someone say, I'm
No.
not telling you my story.
Yeah,
No, they
yeah.
love it because, we got married 20 years ago, just
Yeah.
overview.
The whole
And
thing.
then once you're done with that, then you just sit down with them and
What's
say,
our goal?
Yeah, what's your goal? I mean, like, are you moving to another area?
What's most important to you? Like now that I know,
Exactly.
like Elon do the same thing. We can tell the second we're invited in, right?
Mhm.
Cool. We're going to a listing appointment. The second we come in, you can kind of tell if they want to show you the house first or if they want to talk first. You can kind of
Right.
tell. And sometimes they'll be polite, like, "Hey, do you guys want to sit down and talk, or do you guys want to sit out?" You can kind of tell, like, you want to show me the house.
You let them direct it.
We say, "Hey,
Yeah.
brother, we're good out of the way. Whatever you feel most comfortable with, let's do it." Right. And typically they want to just take you around the home and they'll tell you some different things about the story that, but then we sit down and like, yeah, hey, so what, it's our line. Like, hey, so happy to be here. What's your story? They'll tell you it. And then cool. And when we get to that, it's like, great. Hey, so now in this next chapter, you guys are moving, your kids are all done with high school and they're it's like for my example, like we have a lot of kids that are going to college from high school in my neighborhood. It's finally old enough now where we've had a cycle go through. So they're going to be empty nesters. Right. And cool. So it's like, for this next chapter, cool. Hey, selling home. We're going to get to some logistics and talk some strategy there. But before we get there, what's most important to you guys?
Mhm.
What's most important? Because people think it's the most money. Everybody wants to do well when they sell their home.
Right.
But they want to talk about just, and sometimes like people, calling them a baby is the wrong phrase. So just forgive me. Like when a baby wants to tell you something but doesn't know how to say it, you got to be so good at asking the right questions to a seller because they know what they want to say, but you got to pull it out of them.
You do?
So when like they don't know what they don't know and they don't actually know what, like they know what they want. They don't know how to get there. They just think like, well, we want to sell it for the most and highest price, right? It's like, there's so much more with how much you're keeping when you sell your home. Convenience factors, post occupancies, there's different things that are involved. So asking them, hey, what's most important to you? It opens a door for a different style of conversation that allows them to elaborate, that allows you to key in on what's important to then ask the right questions on timeline's most important.
Well, and sometimes they don't even know until
100%.
you ask the question.
Yep.
Because I don't know if
That's
you
what I
guys have
mean.
noticed it, but sometimes when we ask that question, when our team's in there and we ask the question, they're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Nobody does.
Yeah,
it's okay.
right.
Take a minute.
Yeah.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because They really don't. They called you to sell your house and, they're just starting it, but they're not really thinking about it. Is price the most important? Is timing? Do you want, a rent back? I mean, there's so many things that you can ask them.
But because you know their story, you know that they have to sell this before they buy a different one. So there's going to be contingency. So you can offer ideas that they might not even know exist. And you can also say hey, we haven't really thought about it. No problem. Based off of what you guys are going through and the transition that you've got coming up, here's what we've seen from some of our clients in the past.
Right.
And you just give examples of empty nesters from our prior base of clients and what mattered to them,
true.
how it went smooth. And it's I'm not telling you what needs to be important to you. I'm not telling you what's important to me. I'm just going to give you some examples of people that were in your shoes in that phase of life, what was important to them and how well it went.
Yeah.
And how we made it, how to make sure we make it go well, right? And it spawns ideas to them. But then the whole thing that we're talking about right here is do you guys understand the energy that's transferred from person to person when you're having this type of conversation with someone?
Yeah.
Oh, it's
you're their person, man, because you give a shit. You got to be well versed and professional at what you're doing. Don't get me wrong.
right.
Once you're that, then they can tell that you give a shit based off of this type of conversation. It blows people's minds when they say, "Hey, Will, what's all the stuff you bring to your listing appointment?" I go, "Which one? The first one or the second one?" And they're like, that throws them off. But when we're talking about the first meeting, I go, "Oh, I don't bring anything. I'm not bringing any sheets in there that have the price of their home on it. I'm not telling them what I'm selling for their home. No, we're going to do this first. I want to see the inside of their home. I'm not going to come show you a price on your home when I haven't seen the inside. And even if it's not worth what the seller wants it to be worth, go ahead and try to say that to them before you actually take the time to see their home.
And
Oh,
hear their
sure.
story.
Go ahead. Because even they might they're going to come to terms with price point at some point. But if you didn't give the care to hear them out, dude, I had this happen with a car, right? I went to a dealership and I was selling a super rare car. My rare, 2 in Colorado, rare enough. And they were just busy. And I was like, "Hey, man, I'm in no rush to sell this thing. Open-minded, not in a rush. Hey, I don't mind coming back, right? No, dude, it's okay. You're at a car dealership. They don't want you leaving, right? Someone's getting in trouble if you leave, right?
Right.
I said, "Hey," no, our general manager's, he's just doing this. He should be done in a second. I'm like, "Hey, I'm in no rush. No problem." So, all right, cool. I'll hang out for a few. The finance manager, GM, whoever's in charge of appraisals and stuff like that, had one of the car salesmen come out and just throw me a sheet of paper where they told me how much they were going to give me for my car.
And
I
I
was
hadn't
like,
seen it.
and I was like, "Hey, man, maybe." But he didn't even get off his fat ass in there to go see that car.
Yeah.
Because it's not this. And it's not just because I put fancy wheels on it. There's just different things about this car. And there's 2 in Colorado. And I know what they're going for. Hey, man, I'm not necessarily opposed to that price. I'm opposed at his due diligence.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I'm not opposed at his price. Because honestly, we can take that price, but then we're going to work a deal on the other car. And the totality of the deal. I might not get what I want on my trade, but I get a better deal on the buy.
Right.
The totality of the deal works out. I know. I'm in sales. I get it. I'm opposed to your due diligence.
Yep.
I'm opposed to you sitting on your fat ass, not even going out there or shaking my hand and saying hello. That's what I'm opposed to. You might be spot on with your appraisal, buddy, and you do this for a living, and you see 100 things come across your desk every single day. No problem. I just think I can do better. And the car that I'm looking at on your dealership, it's not that cool. It's cool. I could also get another one. I was looking at an M5. They're not, but you're not the only one with an M5.
Yep, any of those.
And buddy, as great as you are at fucking price and shit, that's priced a little high.
Right.
Come to find out, they were trying to sell it on consignment for a guy that had it on lease, and he was just was going to lose money on it, right?
Yeah.
But the point was, I know enough about sales to know, hey, I think it's worth more. Maybe it's not, and maybe you're good at your numbers because you do this for a living. It's how you're behaving.
Mm-hmm.
I'm out, and I politely was like, "Hey guys, no problem. Hit me up later," and I bounced. This is what agents have to understand. They want to be right. And I'm not going to say you're wrong. You can run your comps and make your fucking handouts and have all this stuff ready. But if the seller's not prepared to hear what you're about to say before you've given the time, you're out. It's not about being right.
It's about relationships.
It's about relationships. And it's about how I need to deliver a message.
Right.
At the right time. So Elon and I, we go in there and have a great time with them. We don't pull any pamphlets out. We don't pull any boxes out. We don't pull any nothing. Him and I, we got our briefcases. He's got his laptop. We go through the house. We go through stories. And once we get to their mission and what's important to them, cool. Hey, if you guys are like, while we're here, why don't we just open up the MLS and let's just look in real time what some things look like right now in the past 3 to 6 months in your neighborhood, and we'll do it together. Mm-hmm. And he opens up his laptop and we just have fun with them side by side. Oh, that's Kevin's house. Oh my gosh. Like, that's what their remodel looks like. That looks amazing. Like, we knew they got it remodeled about a year ago. We just, we were so curious, but we didn't see, now we get to see our neighbor's house.
Yep.
Yeah.
Simultaneously, they're seeing all the upgrades compared to their home. And I don't got to say, and I don't got to say shit.
Yep.
You're going to come right down to the price you need to be at because you're seeing what I'm seeing online.
Right.
And you're going to get to that price on your own. Yep. I don't need to get you there.
Yep.
Right.
I'm just, right? Like, but I get to participate in the experience of showing you. I don't need to be right. I need to make sure you understand that, like, you matter and we're a team and we got to make sure we do a great job here. Like, and then the second time that we go back is like, we'll talk about decluttering and some strategy of where we're going to be. So there is a second meeting before it goes live or before we get photos and it goes live and all that stuff. But like, it blows people's mind because agents think like, I need a box with stuff in it with folders. Okay. I need a box with stuff in it. Those are the folders, but then the folders got to have stuff in it. So I need to have stuff with stuff in it that has stuff in it to carry the stuff in it.
And my whole bio.
And you're like, dude.
And none of which they understand.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just it's just flash. It's just shine. And it's like, listen, man, I don't want to say don't use that stuff. I'm just going to tell you, I don't. Our reputation, our referrals, like everything we do speaks for us. And when I come in, I'd rather just take you through an experience than continue to hand you stuff. Oh, and by the way, if you make too much stuff for your sellers or buyers, they're just going to keep looking at it and then reformulating the conversation you had with them based on, oh, wait. Okay, so what was this thing? Like, we didn't talk about this bullet. Like, you said this, but it says this on the paper. They're like, yeah, it says that because of this, but it is this. Oh, okay. Like, yeah. Stop giving people so much stuff to like look at and be busy, right? Here's another tip. When your buyer goes under contract on a home, shut their fucking email campaign off, okay? Or they're going to keep looking at houses and looking at houses. And you're like, oh, well, we just saw this other one. And you're like, dude.
Nope.
Dude. And if you're great at what you do, you get them dialed in where they need to be and they're finding the right home. But that's the point is like, people don't need, like, I'm not saying don't have marketing. I'm just saying don't use that to be a crutch or to avoid like your lack of ability to grow relationships and being proficient at your job.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't want to, like, people are going to look and go, yeah, she's been doing this for 35 years. She doesn't door knock anymore. And they're right for the most part. I don't. But my team still does and my partners still do.
Can we pause right there? Because I would say if you're thinking about Tina not knocking doors, you're the person that's going to be self-employed the rest of your life and not have a business. Yep. Don't call yourself an entrepreneur.
Right.
Don't say you have a business. You're just self-employed. You created a job for yourself. The hardest part about entrepreneurship compared to like when I was a police officer is they gave me my promotions and they gave me the workload that came with the promotion. Here's your life as a cop. Here's where promotions happen. Each year you can apply and you can test out or enough experience, they give you promotions. And with promotions come different responsibilities. Which ones? Great questions. The ones we fucking give you.
Right.
You show up, man, and you perform. You don't have to figure out your job as a sergeant, as a cop. No. There's different fields, right? Patrol, different stuff, right? And if you're a new sergeant, you're probably on patrol, you're probably graveyards. You know why? Because that's where you bid and that's what they give you. What does the sergeant do? Runs a patrol team. And then they literally give you your roles and responsibilities as a sergeant.
Right.
Entrepreneurship, okay? Let's use real estate specifically. You can start an agent and you can die an agent right here.
Yep.
No promotion, no nothing. You're going to start an agent. You're going to be around for 60 fucking years and you're going to die an agent. Congratulations. If you don't understand how to promote yourself through building a business behind what you do. So of course you don't door knock anymore unless you choose to because you're walking your neighborhood and you enjoy it.
Yeah, which is so true.
You're decentralized and you're scaled. Like you can't sell 25% or more park by yourself. First and foremost, you just can't. You're not serving clients well if you're trying to do that by yourself. Yep. People also need to understand that having a team, not only is it not selfish and you're giving other people opportunities, true, you're also doing a solid to your clients because you can only handle so many contracts by yourself.
Without a doubt. And
Right.
here's the thing. So my team started as just that, a team. I brought on one person, then I waited a few years, brought on another person. And that those two teammates are now partners. I gave them ownership in the business and they're partners now. But they earned it. I mean, they worked really hard for a really long time and they earned it. And so they're the faces out there now. I'm the face that's been doing this forever. And, you know, the phone calls come because of
You.
my name,
Sure,
right?
yep.
Of course. But the clients stay because of what they do.
Yeah.
So I never want to not give them credit
100%.
for what they do. But, and what I say to people all the time is, you can't just go from zero, like these young agents that go from 0 to 100. They think they're supposed to be like the hot shot agent and not do anything.
Yep.
You have to put the work in. Like,
Yeah. But you also have the opposite where like people only talk about production.
Yep.
And here's what happened to me. We, you know, we're at EXP, cool, you know, built our YouTube channel, we're scaling, and a gentleman, Curtis Johnson, you've met Curtis.
Yeah.
Great guy.
Great guy.
I went and spoke for him in Arizona, and he's always just kind of put his arm around me and mentored me and just been a good dude in our industry, right? And believed in what you and I were doing, and mainly me. He was cool with you. And I remember every time I'd talk to him or every time I'd see him and he asked me how I was doing, I would tell him about our production. Oh, man, like we're doing this, and we got this, and this, and this, and this. And he's like, Will, buddy, why are you still talking to me about production? And I was like,
True.
hey, sorry, man. Like, I'm not trying to brag. I just want you to know that like every time we talk, I take it to heart. And it's important to me that you give me your time. And the only way I can really repay that is to like show you that I'm actually working hard and it's worth your time to give me.
Yep.
And he knows that. I've said that to how many people?
Yep.
But Curtis was like, I think it was a phone call I was having with him. He goes, yeah, man, I don't think you do. And now I think I pissed somebody off. And like, look at me, Tina. I
Right.
look like I pissed people off. But I don't. Not all the time. And I was like, yeah? And he goes, Will, you're not listening as well as you could. And I'll just tell you, personal production is the least interesting thing I ever talk about.
Wow.
Then I started listening because he's got, at that time, he had 6,000, 7,000 agents in his network. Now he's at 12. Not only is he making close to $1 million a month, it's like, look at all these teams and agents he's influenced and trained and given an ecosystem to. And I go, got it. Like I'm hearing him, but I'm still over here chasing the dollar in the this and the this and the whatever of like in the pride of like being a top producer, right? It's like I'm gonna be known for how many top producers I create, not just being a top producer. And if you just continue to chase being a top producer and that's the only accolade, that you're not a leader and you're not transcending in your business. You're not promoting. And what's interesting is like when you're new to something, it's crazy how like certain thoughts from a prior industry escape you.
Mm-hmm.
Like no matter how vetted I was as a Marine and good at certain things and you develop skill sets, you go to a new environment, those skill sets are not as sharp as they are over here, right? Like they're just not. And the one thing as leaders in the Marine Corps that they prided you on was as you were growing as a young leader, it was your tactical proficiency. Are you going to be a good warfighter? Are you physically fit? Are you mentally fit? Are you tactically proficient? And can you fucking shoot?
Right.
And then, you know, you go through team leader, you go through squad leader. So team leader, you're in charge of 3 to 4. Squad leader, you're in charge of 14, 15. Platoon sergeant, you're in charge of 3 squads, which are 14 to 15. So 45, right? You start going any higher than that, even like as a platoon sergeant, you're not necessarily in the gunfight per se, right? Like, especially if you're a staff NCO, like you've got other logistical responsibilities, right? Making sure squads have ammo and food and certain things and equipment and the stuff's breaking. You see what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, same thing. Chris is a fireman and fire
Same thing.
department.
So you get it. There's this ascension. But what they really started to look at once you start hitting sergeant, right? And you're still a squad leader, but it starts there. If you're a squad leader in the Marine Corps infantry, from what I've seen, especially when I was in, you're good. You're physically fit, you're mentally fit, you're tactically proficient, and you can manipulate a weapon. Or you wouldn't be in that role, especially in the infantry, right?
Right.
So they're no longer trying to build those skill sets. You're there. This is now the standard, not the goal. You have to be that. What they start looking at you upon, and all of your like peer evaluations or your fitness reports, which isn't on fitness as in push-ups, as in how fit you are for the position you're in. So every quarter you get fitness reports, is all directly predicated to the amount of like how well you are developing leaders. Small unit leadership. You, sergeant, how well are you developing your team leaders to be squad leaders? It's that. So like with Curtis, it was like, I'm over, like, hello, that's my fucking creed. I was born in that environment. And then here I am in real estate. Okay, dude, you've hit sergeant in production, okay?
There you go.
Ethan and I started hitting 100 million plus in volume, just him and I with our YouTube channel. Especially like when it's just crushing, right? Like now it's a little bit slower, the market's slower. It picks back up, it does the same thing. And it was like, oh, when Curtis was talking to me, he was like, dude, you're already a sergeant. We know you can do that.
Yep.
Great. How many people can you get to go be better and perform better?
Yeah.
And it's like, but you overlook stuff like that when you hit a new industry. And like when you talk to me about that, and that's the same thing you're doing with your team. It's like, how well can we influence our communities, but also like how many agents can we influence to just be better and do better?
But that's legacy. I mean, what he was
100%.
saying to you was, what's your legacy?
Yeah.
What's it going to be? Right. And that's what I started to realize is like, I love selling real estate and I love helping people. But what I'm starting to realize now is I want to help agents help people.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I feel like our team, it's not that we haven't made mistakes. I mean, everybody makes mistakes, but I really feel like we did it right. You know, we gave back to our community. We built our community. We've really been rewarded and we're so grateful for it. And I think we can teach agents to do that, right?
100%.
And teach them that it's a business, right? We were talking about this today, right?
Yep.
It's a business.
Well, I was getting a fun shirt.
Well, you were getting a fun shirt. Exactly.
Free Jeezy. I'm just going to leave it at that.
That's
Free
right.
Jeezy. We'll talk about it later.
We were talking about investing back
Yes.
into your
Yeah.
business.
Yeah. If you have a restaurant and the tables and chairs are falling apart, you're not going to expect your clients to eat on the floor. You're going to go buy new tables and chairs. I tell young agents this all the time. Invest in yourself. Invest in your business.
Well, and talk specifically, if you don't mind going to that, because we were talking about, going through times in markets where, and we'll talk specifically about that time where people are contracting and how you decided to expand and go outward.
Yeah. So that was crazy. 2007 and 8 crash. Terrible. I got an opportunity to help with a investment fund. So back in 2009, all the hard money guys and more hedge fund type guys came up and built funds, right?
So a bunch of REOs and
$40 million fund. They'd get a bunch of guys together and they put this fund together and they'd have to have agents go out and find properties. I got approached by this gentleman who I'm eternally grateful for because even though he was so hard on me, he taught me a lot.
You hear that? Does everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Some of you listen to this podcast and I'm hard as fuck on you.
Yeah.
Just know.
But you should be internally grateful.
Be great. Don't be internally grateful. Be externally grateful, and throw me a love letter every now and then. You know,
so true. But so I started doing this fund in San Diego. I didn't know anything about San Diego real estate.
So you're in charge of $40 million. You got to go
$40 million
find properties,
and you got to go find short sales and foreclosures and all of that.
I was
stuff,
on the
right?
courthouse with $4 million worth of cashier's checks.
Amazing!
Yeah,
crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Where my husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I don't know.
It's legal, I swear."
Yeah. But I found a bunch of agents that did know the market and did know the area. I put this team together. And so we made a lot of money in a time with all my friends were not making a lot of money.
And you would get the listings after they would
purchase. We got the listings.
Yep.
So once they were purchased, not only did we get the listings, but I had to manage all the repairs.
Oh, yeah.
So I had, let's talk about this for a second. Pay it forward. My son-in-law had just got out of school for construction management. I introduced him to, I'll just call him Todd. I introduced him to Todd and his family came from construction.
Right.
Todd met him, took one look at him, and he said, "You're my guy, kid." Oh, cool. So
that's why I talked to Eli.
Yeah.
Now that I'm 40 and he's not 40, he's like 38, 39. I go, good kid.
Good kid. Yeah, I'll take it.
Right.
I'll take it.
So he put him in charge of all the renovations.
Wow.
Under my direction. because I was the one making the decisions on what got done and
So
not
you're
got
his mom
done.
and his boss.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
boy.
a nightmare. I'm sure for him. But so then fast forward today, he has one of the most successful construction companies in
that's awesome.
San Diego.
Yeah.
And
Okay. But pause. Some people will have that like, oh, must be nice.
oh, not him.
I'm just saying people listening.
Oh,
This kid must be nice. Like, oh, that's the secret sauce. You just got to hang out and wait. And your mom or someone's just going to throw an
No.
opportunity. Talk to me, if you can, a little bit on, because it is an opportunity. I see more people fuck opportunities up than miss opportunities.
yeah.
Opportunities are around. If you're not prepared for opportunity, or even if you're a little underprepared, if you're not willing to work and fight tooth and nail
He worked
to make,
his butt
he
off.
has to, because he doesn't understand how to delegate yet. He doesn't have as many resources as he's gonna, and some jobs take him longer because he hasn't done them as much yet. When you do your first remodel versus your 500th remodel,
Right.
do you know how, like, let's break it down simplistically. The first time you fill out a real estate contract, it's going to take you an hour if you're doing it right. I can do a real estate contract in 7 minutes from my phone.
Right.
Reps. So like it requires that much more time. So it's like people might think like, oh, well, that opportunity wasn't, that must be nice to have. Kind of. It could also sink you if you mess it up, because you won't get it ever again.
Oh,
Oh,
completely.
he was terrified.
Yeah.
But he also saw it as an amazing opportunity,
Mhm.
and he worked
To step
so
up.
hard
Yeah.
to. And oh my gosh, when flips, I'm telling you the things that
Yeah.
go
Oh,
wrong.
yeah.
I mean, there's
We
a
know.
quick
He-
funny story. We were on a mountain. He was on a mountain. First vacation he had taken.
Okay.
We closed on an REO. We thought we closed on an REO property.
Oh man.
His guys were in there
Mhm.
tearing it up because it was one of those
Oh,
that
no.
had to be tore up. I get a call from title. Hey, problem. We can't close today.
Oh gosh.
I'm calling Derek on the mountain, and I'm like, don't do anything. We haven't closed. And he's like, screaming.
Out his house
It's-
is
No, it was already
Yeah.
done.
Oh,
And so
man.
we're screaming. So we're fighting over who's going to call the boss, right,
Yep.
Todd? And finally I lost and I had to call him. And Todd's like, yeah, so what? And I'm like, Todd, we're not closed on it. He goes, do you think an REO asset manager is going to come over to the house to see? And I was
okay,
like,
so we're
no,
okay.
we're good.
We're okay.
That's called the gray area. everybody.
Yeah.
Experience
yeah.
and understanding
Yeah.
the gray area. Because if they
Yeah.
did come over and see that house in half pieces, they
Oh,
go,
yeah,
well,
we
now
would've
we
been-
can't finance
Problem.
it because
Yes,
it's
yeah.
in pieces.
Oh, no, it was all cash. I mean, these were all
okay.
cash deals. But
But you could be kicked out of everything
Oh,
forever.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. But it's just those experiences
Yeah.
and going through that. But you're so right. Like he could have taken that and just
Mhm.
destroyed it and done terrible.
Quote,
but
unquote,
instead
Todd
he did
knows-
amazing.
Todd knows everybody, quote unquote, this Todd guy
Yeah.
that you're working with. Dude, the real estate community, the development community, the flip, like it's a small world. You do a really shitty job, you're going to play hell getting other opportunities. So
Yep.
as much as people might think the opportunity was great, it's also like, man, it's make it or break it, and what's he going to do? Quit? You're his boss.
Well, no, but
Hey, you
he's-
can quit, son. Just know you're not living at our house anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You're out of
No,
here.
but he was so grateful, and he
Yeah.
still is to this day, and he's
That's
very
cool.
successful, and he's still so grateful for all that Todd taught him. And
So you had these wins. You're getting some good listings. You're making some money.
oh yeah, go back to that
So
story.
market
Mhm.
tanked. You found a way to pivot,
I pivoted.
make some money in it, and then
So then I decided, you know what? Branding might be a good idea. Like, why not
Hmm.
brand myself, right?
Mhm.
Speaking my
Instead
language.
of branding all these brokers, right?
Yep.
Brand ourselves.
or just sitting back on, hey, I'm just gonna keep doing these listings.
Wait. You mean to tell me people aren't using you because of the brokerage you're at? They're actually using you because it's you?
Yeah.
No way. You mean like, for example, a cardboard cutout of Warren Buffett in my office doesn't get people to use me?
Yeah,
It's
sorry.
actually me?
Yeah.
No shit. Even back then.
Yeah.
Weird.
Even back in the old days.
Do you know how many
what we
brokerages
called
will
the
tell
old days.
agents that, hey, because you broker here and we're owned by Warren Buffett, people are going to respect that.
Yeah, or we're the luxury brand.
This is
or-
this is a respectable company.
Right.
And I'm like, who?
It's so
I remember
true.
like, who? Warren Buffett. And I go, is that rich guy that gets an Egg McMuffin every morning? That fucking guy?
we were literally sitting in. This was when Will and I were
Yeah.
were looking at like partnering up or something. I was at the brokerage.
No, we weren't partnering up. He had a team, and I was like, hey, dude, I just want to be
Yeah.
a part of your team.
But we went to sit down with like the owner, right?
Mhm.
And he's sitting there. I'm introducing him to Will for the first time, and he's doing his whole thing about Warren Buffett. And Will literally is like, "Who?"
Yeah.
Like just to be a fucking asshole
And
about
prior-
it.
no,
but
not
like
to
prove
be
a
an
point.
No, no, no.
Well,
Imagine that.
Okay,
Yeah.
not to be an asshole. I didn't know who the guy was. Secondly, he kept saying Berkshire.
Oh yeah.
This
for
is how
sure.
Midwestern
Yeah.
sophisticated people say Berkshire. They say Berkshire.
yeah.
Like he kept saying Berkshire. So for half the fucking meeting, I'm not even sure if I understand where I'm at.
Yeah.
Then he's talking about this Warren Buffett guy, and I'm like, who?
The Egg McMuffin.
And
guy.
I literally was like, oh, it's that really rich guy
Yeah.
that everyone knows because it's like, oh, he still lives in this same old house in Nebraska and gets an Egg McMuffin every morning. That's how I know. That's
Yeah,
just how
yeah.
I knew him. I'm like, oh, he owns this place? No, go figure. Like, but didn't give a fuck.
Yeah,
And guess who else
yeah.
didn't give a fuck? Anybody's house I sold.
Yeah. No.
They gave a fuck that I gave a fuck about
Yeah.
them
Yeah.
Right.
and that they felt I was proficient at my job. It's not the brokerage that's going to make or break what
Yeah.
you do. Like,
Now, my clients would say to me all the time, oh, wait,
What brokerage? you
it's
at?
not Hare and Associates? And
Yeah.
I'm like,
Uh-huh.
no,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
whatever.
that's my
XYZ.
team. It's
And they're like, oh, we thought you were your own broker.
Mhm.
And I go, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
It's just hysterical, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But go back to this story. So then I decided I'm going to brand myself, right?
Right.
So I hire this marketing person to do this brand, and that's how we came up with the H. And
Yeah.
then I thought, well, now I have all this cool stuff. What am I going to do? And I thought, I'm just going to spend a ton of money marketing.
Yeah.
So we were just blasting when no one else was spending a dime.
So fundamentally, let's just break this down as you continue the story. Everything we've talked to so far, it's like you started making a little bit of money. You didn't buy a Lambo.
No.
You reinvested in your business. So the profits you were making, you're using some of that to live off of.
Right.
But you don't spend any on a Lambo.
Nope.
I'm being facetious to myself. Right? Like you're spending money and reinvesting in your business because people are going to think, oh, how'd you have this money to market and build your brand? Well, I built myself to here and I started making a little bit of
And
money.
you pivoted.
And
Yeah.
I pivoted.
But I didn't like change my whole lifestyle. Like I just started taking that money and I pivoted into this and I used profits I was making as I was growing my real estate business and I was reinvesting that into the business to then start throwing brand out there, correct?
Yeah.
That's exactly
While
right.
other agents was going through this time in the market where they're trying to save every penny that they make because it's like, oh, the market sucks. I don't know where the next deal is going to come from.
Selling everything they have.
Selling everything.
Yeah.
They're all contracting and you're literally, you made a pivot and then you're expanding.
Yeah,
and
See, I'm
pushing
crazy,
out.
right?
I'm not mature enough to make a pivot like you do. I have to buy the Lambo to throw my back against the fucking wall
funny.
to make sure I go continue to like
sure.
build and like it's like a fuel source for
Yeah.
me. That's how I
Yeah.
rationalize it. By the way, I sold a Lambo.
But you know, it goes back to just basics of reinvesting.
Yeah.
And I was scared. Don't get me wrong. I'm like, what if I'm just throwing this money away?
Yeah, you don't
right? Who
know.
knows?
Mhm.
But I just had a feeling, right? And I
Yeah.
was just going to go with it. And then
And how long did you do that for?
2009 to 2000. Well, we still do it now, but 2009 basically to 2012 before we saw anything.
So
2 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Wait,
and
wait,
then-
wait. This doesn't happen overnight either?
I'm sorry.
Dang,
Crazy, right?
I know.
Darn.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
No.
Yeah.
And then 2012 to, present day. I mean, it's
It's
still
crushed.
paying. That money's
Mhm.
still paying
Yeah.
back.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this story, and I think this is important to tell. I was like so stressed out because, the market shifted. So
Sure.
we're not doing the kind of deals we were doing. And I was just in a really foul mood. And our business manager came up to me and he's like, dude, can I just talk to you for a second? And I'm like, yeah, what? He's like, we're still doing 25%. If the
Yeah.
market goes down 60%, we can't control that.
Right.
But then in my brain, I'm like, okay, then we need to do 50%.
Oh, double your business.
And they're like,
Yeah.
yeah, Tina, you're crazy. But do you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like sometimes you just have to take a step back and realize you are, you're doing good. I get so hard on myself sometimes that I'm like, okay, how can we get back to that number? But you
Yeah.
have to let the market play through, just like
Well,
in
it's like being
2009,
vigilant, right? It's like adapting and being vigilant and working as hard as you can, regardless of market, but also understanding the circumstances. If you run a 7-minute mile, great job. And then if the next time you go out and run, you ran a 7:20, but the whole thing was uphill. Don't stop because the whole thing's uphill and you just stop. Adapt and be vigilant to that circumstance.
Right.
Mhm.
While also understanding that it has to go into consideration. You don't have to consider the uphill mile to give yourself an excuse not to try at all. No. You're going to have to try harder and keep going, knowing it's a factor, but still being vigilant, and then understanding that 720 is actually more impressive than your 7-minute mile.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's that, right? It's like you have so you don't let circumstances give you reasons to quit or to not give effort. But you also can't just be blind and go, okay, we do this much in volume every year and it's got to double every year. And if it's not, then we suck. No, not necessarily. The grade I'm most proud of was OChem. I got a C.
A C.
Probably because she just wanted me the fuck out of there too. You know what I mean? Like It's probably one of those, right? I worked significantly harder because that class was actually hard.
Yep.
Right.
And I didn't understand it. And I knew I'm not going to understand it.
Yep.
Knowing you're not going to understand it and not understanding it from the gate and still seeing a class through, that's so hard to do.
Well, and you're probably more proud of that than like
Way
getting
more
an
proud.
A in a class that
It teaches you discipline,
Yeah.
right?
It
So like
does.
when you have a down market, it's like you got to be mature enough, stay vigilant, pivot, work hard, increase, but also understanding that it's just going to play a factor. And if you end up doing a little bit less, where it's like, yeah, okay, we did less, but I mean, crap, we have 34% of the market that year. We have 34% of the market that quarter. Like, oh, we're actually a little higher than normal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey,
right.
hey, man, be proud of that. But again, most people, where they get into trouble is if they allow themselves to see the circumstance, it will give them excuse not to push.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And knowing the circumstance, it's hard to keep going knowing it's just not going to be the same result per se. What most people don't also understand is like, you got to remember the future. Like, this might be hard right now, but if you can stay vigilant and push yourself through it, when the market comes back, you're going to be that much bigger because of everybody else that gave themselves an excuse not to pursue.
Yep.
Oh, 100%.
But they won't see, they can't see past the obstacle, right?
Yep.
And it's like, know it's a factor, know it might not be as good, push fucking through anyway, and you're better for it.
Well,
it's the hardest thing for people.
It goes back to like even COVID, right? When COVID happened, we watched so many agents just like, well, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to get sick. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not living my life in fear. I'm not going to be stupid, but I'm not living my life in fear.
Right.
We had 30 escrows
Yeah.
the day that the president shut the country down.
Yeah.
We called all our clients. We were like, are you in? Are you out? Just tell me. Because at that point, then you could have that form that
where
allowed
you get out. If
And here's what people learned. I'm going to love your opinion on this. You always see on social media now with the real estate expert, the new agents, where like, and they come from a place of like convincing people, right? Like, marry the home, date the rate, certain things.
Right.
Not that I'm saying that that's not true. Contextually, where they're saying it from, they're trying to convince people that, hey, it's always a great time to buy or sell, right? Like that's like, it's like, first of all, no, it's not, depending on people's circumstances, right?
Right.
What I wish agents started understanding more that COVID showed, people need to sell.
Right.
Empty nesters, deaths in family, affordability, job transfer, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, job transfer. Like there's just things. Divorce, right?
Bigger
like
house.
things happen.
they need a bigger house. Right? There's so many things where it's like COVID, and I was young in real estate at that point because when did I start? January 5th will be 7 years. I'm a baby, right?
Baby.
I'm a baby.
Yeah, maybe 2 years in though, but pretty young. Right?
But I wasn't new to like just paying attention to things,
Yeah.
right? And like that was the first time where I was like, man, people are out convincing everybody like they have to like realtors have to convince people to buy or convince people to sell because then like they'll get more listings. Dude, you better do a better job just getting reach and building your brand. People need to.
Yep.
And COVID showed that because even like early COVID when people were like when we were all legit like, all right, hey, let's stop moving for 2 weeks. All right, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's all rally together as a country. You know,
2
whatever.
Weeks, 2 weeks to slow the spread.
Yeah,
2 weeks.
fuckers, don't get me fucking started. But the point is,
Yeah, right.
there was legit fear. There was
Yeah.
legit unknown for people, yet they still kept selling their homes and they still kept buying. Why? Need.
They need
If
to.
it was just a luxury of like whether they want to date something or not or move no one would have moved.
No.
But things were still moving. So it's like, guys, people need to buy and sell. Like, and I'm guessing like through your career, you've probably had more necessity sells and buys than, we're just out this weekend, had a little bit of time on our
Yeah,
hand, figure
for
we buy a
sure.
fucking house.
Yeah,
For sure. But those all 30 of those people all said, Tina, we have to move.
Yeah.
And it was for all
We have
different
to, 100%.
reasons. We have to move. Okay, well, then let's make it happen.
Yep.
And we did.
Yep.
And we just kept moving forward.
Yep.
And it tells you something when during a pandemic, you have the most sales in your whole career during a 2-year pandemic, right?
Yeah.
That says something.
Yeah.
But you see agents do it. Like every time they're making a video on social or whatever, they're trying to convince people that like, and you'll see the comments like, but people are always saying like, it's always like, you'll see the pros and cons of like renting versus owning. And like the only con of owning right now is like higher rates.
Right,
and it's
right.
Hey, you don't think fucking people know that?
Right.
Like you think people selling and buying are like real estate agents unintentionally probably come across like people are so ignorant to buying and selling. Like, oh, I can date the rate and buy a home? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, refi, what's that? Like they talk at such a superficial, basic,
Almost
novice
demeaning.
level.
Yeah.
Very demeaning.
Yeah.
Versus like, hey, give people more respect in that. Secondly, what Elon and I learned too is like as far as like building your brand and having more worth, you keep talking that way, you're going to keep catering to the news. Because no one else is going to respect. You keep saying this. Like I saw a lender, man, that was partnering with Nassim for a second. And she was like so pompous on her story. I was like, bro, why'd you share that? But she was literally like with her sarcastic voice, like, you know, don't buy a car while you're getting pre-approved and under contract for a house. Don't buy this. Don't buy a lawnmower. And she's doing this thing, right? Real attitude-y. And I texted Nassim. He's a guy I coach. I said, hey, buddy, I bought 2 cars while I was buying a house. Am I okay?
Yeah.
Right? And he's like laughing. I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm not laughing though. You need to understand something. You keep talking to people that way, and the only people that are going to work with you are super novice, first-time home buyer, bad credit. Like, you're all they got.
Yep.
Because anyone else that's respectable or sees you talking that way, it's you, new lender or new realtor, think that you're saying something that's genius or eye-opening.
Right.
It's not. It's not. It might be to you, but you're just showing like, oh, I bet you've been in the game a year and a half.
Yep.
And I bet like you're in that phase of your career, you think you just know it all and you've done a couple deals and now that's how you're talking to people. And I'm telling you, the 95% of people that are already beyond that will never work with you.
100%.
You keep talking down there, you're going to stay down there.
Well, and it kind of shows a lack of respect
It
too,
does.
right?
Mhm.
Because, you know, people aren't generally stupid, right?
Mhm.
They're, most people are very smart or at least intelligent enough to be able to go buy a house.
Yeah, you're
right?
trying to sell $1 million house.
And you're
like,
telling them they're not smart enough to buy
Right.
that $1 million house because you have to tell them, well, don't do this and
Right.
don't do that
Yep.
and don't do
Yeah,
this.
I bought everything when I was buying a house. Literally. Right?
But also you rely on your lender. Like I don't take on that role,
No.
right?
Yep,
I
yep.
don't get anywhere near it.
Yep.
I tell
Have a great
clients,
lender in your
I
corner.
don't want to know.
Yep.
You go talk to the lender. The lender sends me a thumbs up. We are good.
Yep.
100%.
Because I think
But
I
you
think
have a
it's
lender in
hard
your
for
corner
them.
that's good for that.
absolutely. I mean,
You know?
20 years I've been working with them.
It's
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
almost like football, right? When you're talking so basic, it's like you're showing someone what a football is, and you're saying that's your touchdown over there, that's the other team's touchdown over there. You don't let them go over there, and then you need as many of those. It's like, oh no shit.
Mhm.
We know that. The difficulty that you have to help people with as a realtor is getting through a playbook and getting them to the touchdown. Understanding conceptually about interest rates and sells and timing and days on, like, it's not hard. That's basic football rules. The playbook you're going to create to get you and your client to the touchdown as a team, that's what's hard.
Right.
It's accomplishing the goal. It's not the concept. But that's what a lot of folks get stuck on.
So the only time that was different, and that I will say there's an exception to that for me, was when we were having neg am loans, back in
yeah,
2002, 3,
Yeah.
4.
You were a kid back then, Eli.
Yeah, you were a baby.
Kids. These kids.
You're
I know,
just
right?
a baby.
So like, Tina, you're like 39. Eli's, you're getting closer to
Times
the
100.
goal.
But I would sit down with the clients, honestly, and my lender, she was awesome. She's like, I'm so happy that you're doing this and I don't have to.
Yeah.
I would sit down with them and I go, guys, here's your payment. Here's what your payment's going to be.
Yep.
If you can't afford this, I'm not telling you what to do, But my advice is, if you can't afford this number,
Yeah.
do not buy this house.
And thank God you were doing that
because that's when
nobody
the
else
housing
was.
market was going crazy.
Yes.
Now we
Yes.
have regulation, and now you can only go so much over debt to income.
Right.
Like
but
not over, but
there were
but
so many agents that were like, wait, like that's
yeah.
suicide. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's being
I
responsible.
care.
I'm not
Yeah.
perfect, but
Yeah.
but you guys, that's being responsible because
Yeah.
you know these people.
Yeah.
If they're like a young doctor, a young lawyer, or just like
Yep.
in their career where you know that from this moment to this moment they're going to be making that money up,
Yep.
fine. That's
Yep.
fine. I understand that.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of clients that were like that. But there's people that, like my husband was a fire captain, right? He's not going to go from X to X plus, 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 plus.
No.
It's just not
Yep.
going to happen.
Yep.
So those are the people that you have to look out for and take care of.
And at least let them make their decision.
Yeah,
An
I
informed
mean, I'm
decision.
not making it for
Yep.
them. They
Yep.
have to make
But
the
it's
decision.
it's an informed decision. at
And now
this
there's
point.
regulation.
Yeah.
Now, like pretty much 52% debt to income is what you can
Yeah.
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah.
They
I mean,
protect you now.
Yep.
They do.
100%.
And it's an amazing thing. But back then, that wasn't happening.
100%.
Mhm. Yeah. So who was it, Tina, that was telling you to, go and create your brand and expand when everyone else was contracting? Who was it that, gave you like all the little pivots and stuff they've talked about during this podcast? Who was it that said, hey, Tina, like, this is what you need to be doing. You should be going and doing this.
Tina.
It was Tina.
Yeah.
It was that intuitive to you? Was it something that you learned or you just felt, or were like, hey, like, man, this is a business. These are business things that I'm doing.
I think it was just my nature because I'm, pretty competitive and I'm, that's just always been, I'm like, I have an A-type personality, right? And sometimes that's good. Sometimes that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was just, how can I do more? How can I be better? How can I, get my name out there? And it was just really sitting down and thinking about it going, okay, probably no one's marketing right now.
Yep.
Might be a good idea to market.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did have an assistant at the time. She was great. And she said the same thing. She's like, I think you really do need to take this money and like really invest it. She was right. I mean,
Yeah.
but it was just, bouncing it off. But I don't really have anybody that came to me and said, oh, you should do this.
Yeah.
It was just
Yeah,
me
yeah.
like taking this leap
Just
of faith.
being mature. Yeah, but you
Yeah.
built it. Like there's something that's respectable, right? Like when you do what it takes to build something, you tend to take care of it.
Yeah. And protect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And
It's like a baby, right? Like Elon, I tell Elon, all the time, like we have a baby together, bro.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
This business thing.
it's so true. And like forming my partnership now with my partners,
Mhm.
it was hard. I mean, I have to
Yeah.
say, it was really, I don't want them to hear this, but it was really hard for
Yeah.
me because I was like, I'm giving this.
Well, you took 2/3 of what you had built and
Yes.
literally gave it away.
I'll tell you this much.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I treat my real babies better than the baby we have. We bruise the shit out of this baby, buddy.
Yeah, you dropped it a couple
Social
times.
services would be coming
Yeah.
to grab the baby. You and I have thrown against the wall a couple times. You know what I mean?
Got defeated a few
thank
times.
God.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
I'm over there
Jesus.
trying to breastfeed it. Like, nothing's coming out. It's not working.
We've dropped this baby on its head a couple times.
We have.
But
we
you know
have.
the difference is, and this is something that's really important, is when I first met you guys, that first day,
Yeah.
I knew right out the gate. Because
You looked at me, you had, and you knew it wasn't Eli. Damn it, he is good looking.
It was Eli. No.
Dang it.
But I just saw the passion, and it was like so nice to be around people that had that same passion,
Yeah.
right? Because it's
Yep.
really hard to find in our business.
Let's talk about that, right?
Extremely.
Because like we're partnering together, right? Like we're obviously all together at EXP, but like beyond brokerage, what we love about EXP is it's a model that allows you to scale and have as much reach and develop agents as possible. There's just no other brokerage that's really doing it. That also has a certain level of leadership and tool sets and whatnot with it, right? So we're fans. And coming from like a traditional model, like a franchise model, there's only so much reach you can have with agents. And for you, I remember you talking about like, Will, I was about to retire. Before I met you guys, it was like, well, I've built my team and they're trained and they're excellent. Like, yeah, I still see clients and make out of pleasure and just want to be around them, but don't really need to be doing anything. Like, I guess I'll just let my team run it and ride off into the sunset. But you weren't ready for retirement, but it was like, but what else do I do, I guess, right? So it was like that interim. And then we ended up connecting through some friends of ours, Ken and Brandon. And the opportunity of like what this brokerage does and allows you to be global is what creates it. And then obviously like all of us being passionate about what you do, this kind of sparked this new idea as far as like, man, I could really jump into let the team run the team, but then branch into leadership and agent development at scale because of what Will and Eli are doing. And they're in that model. That's their thing now. And it created this whole other like open door for you of like being able to see a path for legacy and leadership that's still real estate related, but not directly related to babysitting your team.
Yeah, it was really interesting because for so long, this is what I wanted to do, is like to help other agents and to teach. But I just didn't know how to do it, right? I mean, that's, no one's perfect at everything, right?
Sure.
And so for me, it was like, well, I'm really good at this, but I'm not really good at...
How do I get in front of more agents?
Yeah.
It's the reach part.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the reach part. And so then I thought, okay, well, and that's when I kind of was like,
I
a
can
little
door knock
depressed
realtors.
and-
Okay,
yeah.
I don't know if that's most
Yeah.
efficient.
Yeah, that's not gonna be
Dude,
good.
could you, bro, if we could get addresses for where realtors live and go knock their darn doors,
Could
or
you
no,
imagine?
even better, solar guys, if I could get addresses for dudes, right, wherever they live as a solar sales guy and just
Sure.
like go troll them, just go knock their doors,
Right,
Yeah.
right,
Can you imagine?
right.
So much fun.
be amazing.
Oh man. Oh
But
man.
yeah, it's like I came into that meeting kind of just like feeling pretty
Yeah.
defeated
Yeah.
and not really wanting to end. Not like
Yeah.
my career was ending on a bad note.
Yep.
It was just,
In a valley,
yeah.
like still want to climb another mountain, still want to do something, just not sure what
Right.
it looks like.
Right. And then just sitting down with you guys and talking through the whole process and all the opportunities to teach and just be in this amazing organization.
Mhm.
I went home and I was like
Yeah, you
excited
felt it
again.
again.
Yeah. And Chris
Yeah.
is like, who are you?
Let me tell you where,
Yeah.
What's
let me tell you
going
where
on
that comes
with
from.
you?
So like I probably excite her. You probably show the systems and things that we've built to give her the trust that it's all real.
Sure. Yeah.
It's probably how it works
yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah. Just the passion, the excitement. Like, that is one thing too that, we'll see it in people. And it's something that like, even if you don't see it, you feel it,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's very, very, very rare. So I think it's like when you feel that in someone, you kind of like, you're like, oh, this is something different.
Right.
You feel that. And
And you have to like really pay attention to that. Because for example, that first meeting we were having, ironically, when you came in, that meeting was also like had half started with a different meeting.
Right.
And people were talking to you about like escrow and stuff. And there was a lot of distraction. And like, that's where like, for me, like, I feel like I do well with emotional intelligence. And you can just feel a weight of a room.
oh yeah.
Certain pauses are good, certain pauses aren't good. And there was confusion. It was
Right.
distorted. And that's when I was like, hey, cool. This is like, that's got to go away. We got to isolate this stuff. We're doing too much. Like, hey, let's just get that out of here. Let's focus on this. It just required that attention. But
Mhm.
it's nice when people are patient enough to just hear things through. Because that could have definitely been a not so good first impression.
Well, but let's talk about patience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
guys get A+ in that. How many months did it take me?
We owed it to you.
No, you didn't owe it to me.
Here's what I'll tell you.
It took months though.
Here's
as kind of like
yeah.
it I feel
kinda
like
needed
it's,
to.
it's due that,
But listen,
Yeah.
we were
takes
we
9
were
months to have a
building-
baby.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even for my dumbass, I got baked in an oven for 9 months and still came in. You know what I mean? Like I probably needed more time. And rest in peace, Mom. I love you. You did a great job. It's like we were building websites and just different things. Like
Right.
just the development phase needed to happen before
Yeah.
you came over, and everyone was poised. We weren't in a rush because we see the bigger picture.
But that's
You
what I
weren't.
was so grateful for.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Sorry to mean to
No, no.
interrupt, but that's what I was so grateful for is that you guys understood that at the stage that our business was, it couldn't be just this
No.
flip
No.
a switch. It
No.
was
No.
like everything has to be perfect.
Yep.
Everything has to be lined. And I felt like I owed it to my broker to leave and
Sure.
be on a good place with my broker on that
And
end
for
of
you,
it.
because they weren't necessarily the kindest to you, which is okay. It happens. you
Yeah,
know?
but
it
at
was
the end
good
of
that
the
you
day,
did it for you.
we left in
100%.
a good place, and when I came over, it was just easy, right?
Yeah, and that's how. So that's where like when we were okay with like the patient side, I learned. Believe it or not, I like. It's interesting when you hear people say things, right? Like Rick Ross, he's a rapper, right? uber rich, but you don't really know like, yeah, but you're uber rich just making, you don't really know if there's business behind it. But I remember he was like sitting in this meeting. I was watching some video and it popped up and he goes, hey, listen. He was talking to these guys. He goes, listen, I don't care how long it takes. I just don't want any time wasted.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, if it takes 10 years, it takes 10 years. But if it takes 10 years and it should have been 5 years, problem.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, interesting. Because when he said that, I kind of naturally gravitate to a similar theory. Subconsciously, I measure progress. So like when we were working with you from day one, each week was progress, whether it was overcoming an obstacle, adapting to an unknown, building something for an unknown. Like there was just a process that had to happen. But whether it was a good day for you or a bad day for you or a challenging day for you with the transition, it was moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's why Elon and I had no problem because there was no convincing you. There was no nothing. It was like, no, man, this is all progress. And no way you're going to come over here overnight and try to tackle all this and the transition and we don't have everything that we want to build for you built yet.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like, why would you come over yet? Like, there's just got to be enough trust in a process and trust in a relationship that like, hey, man, we're just going to do right by you. So if it takes a couple months, like, that's okay.
Yeah. And you know, it's interesting. I'm going to butcher this saying, but there's a saying that I just love. And it talks about how when you get to the top of the mountain, the truly best or the true heroes and the true success are the ones that turn around and reach behind and grab somebody else and bring them up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of how I felt like about you guys. Like, not that I wasn't successful, not that I hadn't done my own thing and done it well, but that you guys saw this other side of me that you knew that I wanted to bring out, and you kind of reached around and that is, to me, that's what this business it can be, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We can all be successful. We can all help each other. I don't have a problem teaching people how to do what I did, right? I don't have any problem with that because for me, that's the pay it forward, right?
It is. It is. Well, here's what's super cool about this model too, is like the way that partnerships are set up here is, you know, I love that we each have our autonomy, right? You have your business, we have our business.
Yep.
However, it's like, man, we all know where we're trying to go. And what I love about it is that, like, you know, like a Curtis, it's like, man, Curtis is way up here, but then that next guy is like right here.
Yeah.
And the next guy is right here. And I can literally connect the dots between here and where we want to go.
Well,
right?
And you guys called Curtis, and what did he do? He comes all the way down to Moore Park,
From
sits in my
Arizona.
office.
Yeah.
That was the coolest thing.
My buddy Rich Sommers, I don't think I'll butcher it. I think I'll butcher it. I think I'll get it pretty good. I was looking for his quote, but he said, competition is what happens at the bottom. At the top, it's all collaboration.
Yeah.
That's us three.
Yeah.
It was like we weren't turning around to help you. Like, you're a stud. We might be good at some things that you're just not into yet, like with scaling and just different things, right?
Right.
But there's so much that you bring to how we can enhance everything that we do.
Right.
So much.
But like when Rich wrote that, he's such a good dude, but he's talking about, like, when he talks about competition, he's like, hey, that's what everybody else does down there that isn't up here. Once you get up here, we're all collaborating. We're all partnering and collaborating, doing things together that'll keep all of you down there always down there. And it was like, yeah, like, you're at the top of what you do. We're starting to get to the upper end of like what we do. And it's like, it was all collaboration. I love this quote. I wish I could find it, but it's pretty much what I said.
Yeah.
Competition is what happens at the bottom. At the top, it's all collaboration. And I was like, man, like, as much as I love competition and I love to make up a feud in my fucking head to compete, it's like, like everybody that's like high value that we do so many great things with, it's like, no, it's just a collaboration, you know, like Jay Kinder, some other guys that are pretty big in our network. He talks about like your A+ agents or A+ partners take 10% of your time. B's and C's end up taking, and like, then you start looking at like agents in your network and you go,
it's so true.
Yeah, the ones that are mildly producing that aren't working very hard seem to have the most shit I got to help them with.
Yep.
The ones that are stellar, that are doing great, they're not taking any of my time.
Mm-hmm.
And then you end up collaborating with them. So like, it's interesting as you do climb, you go, no, there's people that want to help you.
Right.
And if you don't think that you're getting help or people aren't helping you, two things. You could be in just the wrong sphere, the wrong circle. If you're in a franchise model, people just don't want to help you because it doesn't reward them. The other thing I'm starting to learn is you also just might carry an energy or a certain low level of work ethic or what's in it for me mentality. And winners that love to collaborate are running as fast as they can away from you.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we're at the top yet, not to be conceited or egotistical, but Elon and I are high enough now where like there's people that we start identifying and you can see the what's in it for me mentality.
Yep.
And I'm trying so hard to get away from that person.
Yep.
Right.
In a conversation, even down to the point just telling them like, hey man, I'm not for you. Cause it's like, hey, that mentality you have, it doesn't work up here.
Nope.
And then I start realizing like, what was the quality like we had? We've always given more than we've taken. We've always come into a collaboration and done so much more. And that's just how we are naturally. You're the same way.
Yeah, but
Like-
you guys did everything for me on faith. I mean, we didn't have any contracts. We didn't have anything.
But that's who we are though. Like,
I
and
know,
you're gonna,
but
like,
that's
you
what's
win
so
some, you lose some.
amazing.
We've done for that for some folks and it turned out not to be the best folks. We let them keep websites. Hey, keep everything. We just don't want to move forward with you, right? Like all good. You win some, you lose some, but by nature, that's how him and I are. We're going to give that level of value and contribute to the person that we're invested in for that collaboration. And just because some people don't pan out doesn't mean you change who you are. But you're the same way though. Like
You are. Yep.
you're a giver.
Yep.
And it's like, as we start getting higher and higher in business, you just start finding more givers, more collaborators. And you're like, this is how you start winning at scale. But you just got to be the right person because people that are winning, they're smart.
Yep.
And if you're a what's in it for me type of person and you give off that bad breath,
Yep.
yeah, no wonder why you're not getting help.
No.
Well, you know, it's really interesting. I don't even know if I've ever said this to you, but when
I
I
had
was
bad breath?
really no, yeah, no. When I was struggling with, like giving up my
Yeah.
business and
Yeah.
stuff, you're the one that really made me realize that I'm not really giving up anything.
Mhm.
Like I'm asking these ladies to come in on this journey with me, and they deserve to be rewarded for it, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to make them want it too, right? Because
100%.
then you're putting all of it together as a team. And it wasn't until I had that conversation with you. I remember exactly where I was. I was in the office and I was sitting in my car and
Yeah.
we talked about it for like 20 minutes.
Yep.
And you were just
It was like right before you went in to talk to the team.
yeah. And you were
Yep.
like, dude, like just do this. This is the right thing to do.
Because we
And-
started talking about your future and it's like, hey, if they have that and they've got ownership of what they're doing. And what I correlated to was like, we have deals that happen transactionally and my name's not on the contract.
Right.
I'm on a CDA. I'm on a rev share checks, but I'm not necessarily taking the credit per contract because the agents that help us with our deals, I want them to have ownership of it. If it's always about me and me trying to show everybody how many quote unquote transactions I do,
Right.
I'm in that rat race still. I'm
Yep.
not leading, but I
Yep.
need them to have that because at their level, like they do want the credit for that. Having a transaction show for them does matter to them. So
Yep.
cool.
Well,
I'll
and-
say zero, but it was like giving them some ownership. So like for you, I remember it and it was like, Tina, I remember talking about Curtis and like what he's done. I go, hey, the pie you're about to cook
right.
is awesome. And if they can do this and have something for themselves, great. Cause like, do you remember what Curtis talked about and where he's at? It's like, there's just so much more out there for you,
Right.
but we're looking at,
Well, and in fairness to them, it was, I built it, right? Because it was all the stuff I did early on.
Yep.
But they're the ones out there, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the background. I handle DEFCON 5. I handle like clients that say, "Oh, I want
Yep.
Tina." That's what I handle.
Yep.
But they're in the trenches every day,
Mhm.
and they're
Mhm.
killing it, right? And so I didn't blame them. When I started to really think about it at first, it was just like, God, I built this. This is mine. And, I worked so hard. And then I just realized, like, I truly wouldn't be where I am today had I not made that decision to
yep.
go crazy with all the marketing and
Yep.
to bring on people to help. Because no one can handle
And
200
won't be able to-
transactions.
but
and
here's what I remember.
won't-
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
But you won't be able to go where you want to go now without
True.
them.
No,
But
because
here's
now
what it
I get
was.
to do this.
Yeah.
But here's what it really was. I think you'd have found that yourself. You're smart. I think in that moment when you and I were talking, because we had a couple good conversations back then where you call and you go, all right, motivate me. I'm walking into this meeting. Tell me something, right? Those are so fun, right?
Right.
I hope we always have those. What I really felt when we were having some of those conversations, I don't know if it's that one specifically, but I think you'd have gotten to that resolution without me. What you were really feeling was, I need to be respected and appreciate for what I'm about to give you.
Mhm.
because they kind of came at you so quick, which is good. Negotiating, and you're a killer agent, and you're helping me crush this company. They kind of came back at you a little bit so quick. I felt like you felt underappreciated for what they were getting. Even though they've been running it and doing a great job, it's like you needed to be appreciated.
Yeah.
And respected for like, hey, take a moment and just go, hey, I know this is going to work out and we're cool. Tina, thank you for letting me have some ownership. Like, find a way in your own words to just pause. Like, for example, Eli and I, when I was at a brokerage. They were heavy in leads. I was doing really good with my sphere. I did 5 deals in 2 months. I talked to him before I got into real estate because we were both in fitness, right? He's like, yeah, dude, just kind of get your license because that's when it matters. I ended up getting my license. I did 5 deals in 2 months. I didn't like the brokerage I was at because it was more lead based and I was crushing my sphere. I called him because he had just started a team. I was like, hey, dude, I see you do video on social media and stuff. And like, that's the kind of background I come from with fitness and how we've built a fitness company. And I feel like you won't fuck with me because you understand why I'm doing video. And man, I just want to be on your team. He's like, yeah, well, shit, you got your license? Holy shit. Yeah. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, how many deals have you done? I go, I've done 5. And he's like, in 2 months? I go, yeah. He's like, great. So I was just a part of his team. But then I started operating in his team and he goes, hey, dude, you just need to run this team with me. This was our Genesis home team when we were still at Berkshire. Fucking hell, man. Right? And he's like, you just need to be a part of this. Like, we need to just run the team together and run everything together. And like, that was cool of him. He had 2 agents on the team at that point. We're both broke. His wife's pregnant. My wife's pregnant. Yep. And I bought him a laptop with some of my commissions from one of my, first and foremost, because his shit looked like it was from the 80s. I think it was the first Apple ever made.
Probably.
Not only was it that thick, then he puts this rubber cover on it. So it like makes it even.
Oh, like an OtterBox?
Oh, God. It's like
and if you even bumped the little like charger, I'd be at someone's house, have to plug it in. You bump the charger, it would turn off.
Like,
oh, no.
Like, it was bad.
His computer looked like a fat man in a winter coat.
Yeah.
You're not, that winter coat's not helping you,
Fat
buddy.
man fatter, yeah.
A fat man with horizontal stripes on his shirt and a winter coat. It was horrible.
Yep.
That was a joke, but really I literally I gave it to him as a gift and I said, hey, listen, man, I know we're not that big right now, but I need to gift this to you because I need you to understand how much I appreciate you letting me be a part of something that you started. This is not mine. You started it. And it's not much, but that's when it's fragile too. It's not just when you give something away that's big, it's when it's new, it's fragile. And I gifted him a laptop and I just said, hey man, thank you. And I felt like from your team, you wanted to be appreciated of the opportunity. And I felt like sometimes people that can be so quick to negotiate, they forget the whole timing. Like if I show up to your house as a listing agent, I start showing you what I'm going to sell your house for, and all this thing, and I didn't take the time to listen and hear, it's friction. And I felt like if they'd have given a little bit of time there and just maybe appreciated the opportunity first before the negotiations on how we're all going to structure this happen, I felt like you'd have felt heard and appreciated for what you've built that you're. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it felt like some of that.
I think I appreciate you saying that though, but I think I have to own it because the backstory on it was is they were going to buy me out, right?
Oh, okay.
So they started this whole negotiating and buy me out, and then I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So then they got frustrated, rightfully so, and then we didn't talk about it for 6 months, right? And then that's when we started negotiating, right?
Cool.
Just talking about it. So, in all fairness to them, they had been very patient. It was really me not being able to let go. So I think it was more, and just having to, I mean, it's kind of crazy, but it was almost like mourning a loss, right?
Yeah.
Like
kids all growing up.
Yes.
Empty nester syndrome.
Yes. Like, okay. Oh my gosh. Now like.
But that's also why your next mission is so important because you got this next baby to raise.
But you know what's been so great is we are doing so amazing now as a team.
Oh, I bet.
Because we collaborate, we talk,
you're all owners. You're all invested.
And now when we like,
because like that awkward time is over.
It's not like you're telling me what to do. You know what I mean? It's more like we can battle and disagree or agree to disagree.
Yep.
But it's all on the same level now because now they feel like they've been given that appreciation, right?
That's us. Once Will and I came to the decision that, hey, we're married in this.
We did not come to that. He was mature enough to say it. I kept giving him, and like early on when we were running the team together, we have some disagreements and stuff because like I'm just significantly more insightful than him, right?
Of course, yes.
By a long shot.
Or intense.
All the above, yeah.
And I've had I subconsciously give people outs because very rarely I've probably met 3 people in my whole life that'll actually be good to their word and see something through. Mm-hmm. And when I see people not, I'll say things like, hey, you don't have to be here. Like you can do this and I can do that and like and all good. And I do that as like damage control, kind of so I don't get hurt, but also so I just don't get over-indexed and just I give people those outs because I feel like they want them. They just don't know how to say them. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people in relationships will just be too scared to say that, but then they're also not working.
Yeah.
Right.
And it just drags versus if you give them the out and they take it, fine. Because at least we can, it's like, I was kind of jumping the gun with Eli because it's not that he wasn't working hard. Him and I've always just worked hard together. But I was saying some of those things. I remember we were out in the parking lot one time. And he's like, listen, dude. He's like, we're married. Well, I don't know if you're married, but I'm married. Like we're in this and I'm married. And at some point we got to stop having the breakup talk.
Yeah.
Right.
Because we were talking about one of our agents. I was like, look, dude, if you just want to run the team, we can still do our stuff together. But like, you can run the team. I'm like dividing it up in my brain and verbally. And he's like, dude, I don't know if you're married. I'm married. Like we're in this. So whatever it is, like we're going to work it out. But we got to stop having this talk about
divorce.
Yeah. Yep.
That. And it was like, and then pretty much from that day, I haven't talked about it.
Yeah. Well, and it's awesome because then it's like you can have a disagreement, but it doesn't go to that.
It doesn't go
It doesn't
there.
go to DEFCON.
It's just, hey, let's just have a disagreement and talk it out.
Yeah, the hardest part about our partnership is how disgusting our wives think we are for owning our errors.
I know, right?
Apologizing.
Yeah.
Growing and improving and having, I'm like, we'd have been like, we'd be great together.
We would, yeah.
They absolutely think it's disgusting. It's like, because him and I work out stuff so well.
Yeah.
It's not the same with your spouse.
Yeah.
No.
Ever. But like, here's man, if you're listening and you have a business partner and it's amazing, like me and Eli and I, let me tell you the worst thing I could say in an argument with Kate. Use Eli as an example with how well we've overcome something.
Yes.
And it's like,
why would you do that?
Because I'm a fucking idiot. That's why. What do you mean why? Because I'm a guy. That's why I'm a fucking idiot. Yeah.
I can't even imagine how that went.
That's awesome.
Like eye roll.
That's funny.
She's not innocent. Like here's what I tell people. Like when people see me and then they see Kate, and like they think of me of like this Marine and this whatever, right? And I'm like, cool. Oh, and then Kate's just like so sweet. I'm like, so you think I'm this killer? And then just Little Red Riding Hood is just sleeping next to me every night. Like you don't think she's got a little shit sleeping next to me? You know, like the dark side of the Little Red Riding Hood story. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's got her, but she's funny. Great. But it's interesting, right? Because like now Kate's partnering with us. We can afford her, so she's our lead creative director, and it's better because she can see our meetings now. She's in our meetings. So she can see him and I. If something's not right, it's not right. Hey, that's not, we got to fucking fix it. Or, but like, it's nice for her to see it. But yeah, that was the dumbest thing I could ever say. Yeah.
We all say dumb things.
Well, Eli, like, when I argue with Eli, he just owns it, and I try to own mine. Like when him and I argue, we try to I try to figure out where I'm wrong to say it. He's trying to take blame for the argument. We're both trying to like, hey, I'll pay for lunch. No, I'll pay for lunch. Like, no, I got it. Like I'm sorry. No, bro.
Imagine you two arguing.
It's not bad.
It's like, very productive.
Hey man, I'm sorry.
It's very productive.
I'll be like, hey dude, I'm sorry. Like I could be better here. He's like, no, dude, I'm sorry. I'm like, no, it's not on you. Just it's on me. Like, and we argue about who's going to take credit for being fucked up. That's how amazing we are.
Yeah, it's true.
So see,
it's
you should
disgusting.
do real estate counseling.
Yeah, let's see.
We had an idea. We had an idea when we were like, we had this big,
great idea.
Big company, like this big Emmy award winning company that does reality TV. They were wanting us to have our own show. They found our channel. They're like, you guys are idiots, is what they want to say. You should be on TV. And Eli had this idea. He goes, hey, you know that show Bar Rescue? Where like that guy goes around and
real estate rescue.
100%.
He's like, why don't you guys just have a show
yeah.
where like Eli and like Eli and I just
I'm in.
Yeah. That's what he pitched to him. We haven't done it yet. He was like, hey, why don't you have Will and Eli go unfuck brokerages or teams?
Real estate teams, no systems, no processes.
I'll be me.
Like, no leadership.
Hey, I have a good resume because I was on $1 Million Listing.
I'm telling you.
There we go.
I'm telling you.
I have a good resume because I was on the Drew Barrymore show. No big deal.
Well, you didn't have to deal with certain
true. And you probably were on the
listing people.
Oh, I bet that
way
was
worse.
Fun.
We've done some of those. We haven't.
No, this is
the
how dumb I am.
show.
Oh yeah, I was on the show. 2 episodes. It was so
really?
awesome. But I showed up because I thought it was real, right?
Yeah.
Reality
Wait a
TV.
minute. Wait a
I
minute.
did. I was so.
Do you know how many things you're
dumb.
debunking? Wait. Reality TV is not real? You mean all these like $1 billion listing Hollywood girls, and then you look them up on the MLS and they have 0 transactions?
Yeah.
You mean to tell me
Yeah.
it's not real?
So I couldn't figure out why they wanted me to have 5 outfits.
No.
So I walked in with 5 outfits, and I'm like, I don't understand any. The producer, Angela, she was so sweet. She's like, what do you mean you don't understand? And I'm like, listen, we negotiated this deal on the phone. I was at the garment district, and I'm on the phone negotiating this deal. And she goes, what? And I go, well,
It's my listing.
Well, actually, I had the buyer
Right.
Okay.
on this transaction. And so she starts laughing, and she goes, honey, none of this is real except for the fact that your client bought this house.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, I was so crushed because I was like, I thought it was all real, right?
Yeah.
So then I just had fun with it. Then it was awesome.
Oh my, we're gonna have to look that up.
Yeah, it was so
Oh my
good.
gosh.
It was so much fun.
I'm gonna have to find that now.
Oh
I'd love
my
to
God.
randomly be watching it and be like, "That's freaking
I know.
Tina!
Well, my nephew,
Look at her mini skirt."
I know.
When did Tina start wearing mini skirts and stilettos?
Whoa.
Yeah.
What's all
I
the
know.
cleavage
Yeah.
walking in the house? Oh,
Yeah.
that's how you sold all the homes.
30
huh?
years ago. But my nephew, who was played for the Jacksonville Jaguars,
Yeah.
he loves $1 Million Listing. I didn't know
Yeah.
it at the time, and I hadn't told any of my family about it.
So not a big deal.
So he was in I don't know, some city by himself, and kind of just channel surfing, waiting to go play football. And my episode came on,
Oh, that's awesome.
and he calls his mom. He goes, "Mom, Aunt Tina's on the TV, and I
What
think
is
she's
she
more
wearing?"
famous than me." And I'm
So
like, "Yeah, right. I'm more famous than you, Mr. Football Player." But it was fun. It
That's
was really
great.
fun.
Yeah, that's crazy. We're gonna have to have some fun with it. I know we got to get you out of here. It's already getting late. We got to get you some rest or whatnot
This has
before.
been so fun.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Pretty
You're gonna
good
be
for
on
my
again.
first time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know your shit, man. This is fun, right? This is also why you should just have a podcast.
That's right. That's right.
What should we call
We'll
it?
see.
I don't know. That's your lane.
What should we call it?
Yeah.
I don't
Tina
know.
time.
We'll
or
come
like,
up with something good.
Tina time.
Yeah.
we're gonna figure it out. Like tea
Yeah.
time, but like Tina time.
It's not bad.
It'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun. Where
You
can they
guys are
find
awesome.
you? They can't find you anywhere right now. I guess if you guys want to get a hold of Tina, we are going to be building her an Instagram. We'll be
Yeah, that's
helping
true.
her with that. She'll be getting some
Yes.
content out there. Some of the podcast is going to be on there. But if you guys have any questions for Tina, we can get you introduced.
And your
especially if you're
website
a
might actually be up by the time this
Yeah.
airs. What's your
Maybe.
website? HareandAssociates.com.
Here
There we
it
go.
is.
HARE.
Yeah.
If you hit me up, I'll respond. And then for the right price, we'll put you in touch with Tina. Like it's
That's right.
we'll
That's
broker
right.
real estate. I'm gonna broker Tina. Like, it's no
I
problem.
like it.
It's all
I like it.
Guys, if you're coming to the event, or if you were at the event, because I'm guessing this is launching Monday. We
Yeah.
had our event last Wednesday.
Yep.
So if you went, hope you had a great time. We're gonna have Tina on a lot more. She's super fun. You should make like a quarterly. Anytime you're in Colorado, you're on the podcast. We're just
Something.
gonna
Oh,
have to
I'm
do it.
doing it monthly.
It's gonna be a
I
lot of
love
fun,
it. I
and
love
we can
it.
show you how we can do it via Zoom if you're not in Colorado.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd
Yeah.
be awesome.
We're gonna have a lot of fun. But
Cool.
other than that, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll see you guys very soon.
Day $1.0.
We're out of here.
Little whiskey on the tongue and some long cut. I'ma slip it on down and turn it up. Southbound and we're trailblazing, yeah, but and a posse dirty, filthy like a spit cut. Got the moms at the gate bringing big guns. Raw records be the steak, we the A1. Speak up and we know where we came from. Welcome to the posse, let me hear your long cut.